Hi there, everyone. Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So this week we've talked a lot about thoughts, right? We've talked about how the thoughts that we have can influence the reality around us, right? Especially the way that we interact with the reality around us, right? The thoughts that we have influence the way that we see the world around us. The thoughts that we have will impact the way that we're seeing the people in our lives. And we're seeing, like I've said the other day, if we're seeing a child as somebody who's problematic and difficult, then that's the child who's going to show up, because that's what we're going to notice, right? It's the filtering of our brain to show us only the things that we're kind of wanting to see, right? And it also, thoughts, as I said yesterday, are extremely important with the understanding of how much we can get done, the belief of how much we can do in our lives, right? And so self-limiting beliefs come from our thoughts as well. Right, and the fact of the matter is, and I know in all of these videos I've certainly touched upon this subject, but the fact of the matter is that we all have this thing called a negativity bias in our minds, right, in our physical brain, right? It's the way that we're slanted to look at the negative aspects of our lives, right? And this is because it's a survival technique, right? This, when we see the negative things in our lives, those are the things that are likely to hurt us, right? So therefore, by seeing those things, our natural inclination to see those things is part of our survival technique to stay safe from those things, right? Now, here's the thing, though, that because we have a negativity bias, it doesn't mean that there's more negative things that happen to us. It just means that we notice the negative things in our lives more than we notice the positive. So therefore, again, it comes back to the thoughts, right? If our negativity bias is going to encourage negative thoughts about things, well, then all those things that I just mentioned, the self-limiting beliefs, the kind of personal interactions that we have with people, and the way that we kind of move forward through the world, right, is going to be tainted in that negative way if we allow it to happen. Now, here's the good news: we don't have to let that happen. Right? We have control over this. Because it's a bias, what that means is that it's subconscious, right? It's unconscious. And so when we can bring that unconscious negativity that we are likely to have, when we can acknowledge that we have it, not deny it, not say, oh, I'm better than that, but acknowledge that we have it, and then bring it to the conscious mind, now we can work with it. Right, so the first step here is to do that, right? Is to acknowledge the fact that we all do have this negativity bias, right? When we go out in the world, we're more likely to say what could go wrong today than what could go right today, right? We're more likely to notice those things that are problematic, right? If you have a fantastic day, right? You go through your day and like you have all these kind of wonderful interactions, and you might even get a gift, somebody buys you lunch or something like that, and then on your way home you see a fist fight, right? That fist fight is the only thing you're going to talk about when you get home, right? That's the only thing that you're going to remember from your day as you go forward, right? Because again, our natural inclination, left untouched, our natural inclination is to look at the negative aspects of our lives, right? And our experiences. Now, the way that we can sort of balance this out, and I've talked about this a lot, so bear with me. The way that we can balance this out is by simply noticing those positive things, right? Now, there's a lot of ways that we can approach this, right? But one of the most amazing ways, actually, there's two really cool tricks I want to talk to you about today, two cool practices. They're not tricks, they're practices. The first is to notice the neutrality, right? Notice the banality of life. Right, because again, so many times we're focused on the negative, right? Because of that natural negativity bias that we have. If we can just notice the sort of mundane things in our lives, and notice them without labeling them as boring or mundane or not worth our attention and these things, but if we can just notice what's going on, then that alone is going to start tipping the scales back to a kind of back to a balance point where we feel that we're not looking at everything so negatively. Okay, let me give you a really cool example, right? There's very many examples that we can use, right? Something as simple as looking at the blue sky, right? Like every day when you get up Do you look out the sky, out the window, and see what color the sky is? I do. I've practiced it, and it's wonderful, right? I look out, and the thing is that when I look out and it's cloudy, I say, wow, it's a cloudy day. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that curious, right? And when I look out and I say, wow, it's a blue sky. It's so beautiful. I'm so fortunate, right? So again, the negative, right, the cloudy day doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be just a curious thing, like, wow, I wasn't expecting it to be cloudy today, and yet here it is. I wonder if it'll rain, and if it does, I wonder, the rain will certainly help the plants and these kind of things, right? We can always see a positive, right, in what is happening around us if we're noticing it. Right? Another great way to look at this is to say, I use this with all my clients all the time, and they're all like, "Oh man, you got me there." So let's say you have a toothache, or a bad cold. Let's say you have a bad cold, right? And when you're in the midst of a bad cold and your nose is stuffed up and it's runny and you're sneezing and you can't sleep and you're all achy and it's like you just feel like, oh gosh, as soon as I can finally get done with this cold and feel better, I can finally be happy again, right? Like there's nothing that's going to allow you to be happy while you're inside of this cold, right? So let's be generous and say 2 colds a year, right? And each of those colds lasts, 7 days, right? So that's 14 days. That means that 351 days a year, you wake up without a cold. How many of those mornings do you wake up and say, I don't have a cold today? And that's wonderful. Right? Nobody ever does that, right? And nobody except people who practice it, right? And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, of noticing the banality, right? Noticing the fact that there's, it doesn't have to be something that's, it's not like you have to wake up every morning and feel like, oh my gosh, I feel this rush of just wonderful feelings in my body. But even just noticing the lack and the absence of something that's painful or uncomfortable. Right? When we notice it, then we say like, wow, yeah, this is a good day. I don't have a cold. I don't have a backache. I don't have a toothache. I don't have a, whatever it is, right? And so when we can train ourselves, and this is just as simple as just waking up in the morning, okay, look out the window, notice whether it's a blue sky or not. Because oftentimes what we do is, like, we don't even bother looking out the window. We just look at our phone to see what the weather's going to be like so we know how to dress, right? But just taking that moment and looking out the window and just registering, like, what is going on out there? Is it partly cloudy? Is it full on overcast? Is it stormy? There's so many it's not either just clear sky or cloudy, right? Or sunny or rain. There's so many different mundane differences in the weather that's happening, right? So taking a moment and noticing that, right? And that's an act of mindfulness in and of itself, right? Because you're stopping and you're noticing. Right? And that's all that we're doing with mindfulness, right? But now here's another really powerful way that you can, kind of complement this and practice even further and really get deep into this stuff that we're talking about noticing the positive things in your life, right? Because trust me, there are lots of positive things in your life. Even in times of great trouble, there are positive things that are coming. And I'm going to get to it in a second. But, I'll save that. But anyway, the one really great way to notice the positive things that are happening in your life, and again, sort of balance that scale between the negative bias and the way that we notice all the stuff that's wrong in our lives, and just creating a more neutral balance, right? A great way to do that is through gratitude practice. Okay, now you can do a formal gratitude journal every night. This is something I really recommend. It gets us in the habit of noticing gratitude, things that we're grateful for, right? And the way that you do this is very simple, right? You just, every night, and I recommend doing it like just before bed, right? Because when you put your mind in a very positive place just before you go to bed, thinking about the positive things in your life, that's going to help you. It's going to help you sleep. It's going to help you have good dreams. It's going to be good for your body, So I recommend doing it as close to bedtime as is convenient for you. Get a special notebook. Get a notebook just dedicated to this, and physical notebook, not on your phone. Like get a nice little notebook that you pick out in the store, and you say, okay, this is the notebook I'm going to use for my gratitude journal, right? And every day, just simply write the date. And some people like, and when I started doing this, I started writing like, today I am grateful for, and then I do 5 different things, right? Just listing 5 specific things that you're grateful for, right? Now, and they don't have to be big things, right? It doesn't have to be, the beautiful, the amazing, powerful things in the world, right? Like life-changing things. Because that's the thing, right? Our lives are not full of those kind of things, right? So noticing more like, it didn't rain today, right? Or I had a great cup of coffee today. Or I had this great interaction with somebody on the train on my way home. We just kind of made eye contact and was very friendly, and it left me feeling good. Or I had an ice cream cone. It was delicious, like these kind of things. It can be very, very slight things. I made every green light on the way to the train station this morning, right? Or something like that, right? Very, very simple things. But here's the one rule. You cannot repeat things from one day to the next. Now, no, that doesn't mean that you have to look back every single time and make sure that you don't repeat anything ever. But what I'm saying is, don't repeat things day after day after day after day. And to the best of your ability, don't repeat something that you just remember that you wrote the other day, right? The idea behind this is that what we want to do is we want to start looking for the positive things all day long. Right? So the first couple days, you're going to come up with the easy stuff, right? Grateful for my family, grateful for my health, grateful for my house, my job, my food, all that stuff. And that's wonderful, right? That's really great stuff. And there's no reason not to express gratitude for it, right? But after a few days, you want to now start looking for things in your life, right? And if you're not repeating things from day to day, now it's a little challenge. So now you're going to be looking for things, because that book holds you accountable at bedtime, right? So you're going to be looking for things. Right? And eventually what happens is you write like 10 things instead of 5, and that's okay too. But what happens is that means that all day long you're trying to notice things that are positive in your life, right? Which is, again, going to start to tip those scales, okay? Now, I want to be very clear about something, okay? This does not mean, when I talk about, positive thoughts and gratitude and even compassion is another practice on this, right? Compassion is something that is also going to be a very positive sort of look. So another practice, if I may, I have a couple more minutes, if I may, give you another practice, I suggest that throughout the day, okay, some people do it as a once an hour kind of thing, set a timer on your phone to go off every hour. When the timer goes off, but you could do this just like, like every day on the train. You could do it every time you go into a grocery store. You could do it in your car as you're driving. But make an intention, set an intention, and be intentional about looking at people and just saying inside your mind. You don't have to say it out loud and get weird about it, but say it in your mind that, I wish you well. Just say that to people in your mind. Again, you don't have to say it out loud, because that could get very awkward. But if there's people around you who you know well and you like, then go ahead and express it. But even complete strangers in supermarkets and on the train, right? Just even looking at the side of someone's head or the back of their head even, and just saying, you know what? I hope you're having a good day today. I hope you're well. I hope you're finding happiness today. Right? And if you do this over and over and over again, that's a very positive aspect of life, is compassion, right? It's a heartfelt, positive emotion. And that also is going to, now we're putting a lot of things on this positive end of the scale, and we're starting to really tip the balance point, right? And now when you're doing this, now your thoughts that come out of this are going to be positive thoughts. And now you're more likely to believe in yourself. You're more likely to see the people around you. You see the positive aspects of them, right? See their inner nobility, to see the inner beauty that they all possess, right? You're more likely to see the world as a place that's friendly and welcoming, rather than dangerous and harsh and all that, right? Because again, it's so shaped by our thoughts. Right? But now here's the thing. I started to say this a few minutes ago. Now, what we don't want to consider, like, this is not about, banishing negative thoughts from our mind, right? And it's not banishing negative experiences from our lives, right? Because we need some negative in order to have positive. And people who kind of, put on the smiley face and just, get through life with positivity, that often an end point to that, right? And when you reach that end point, it's usually a big crash, right? Those people usually get devastated by things that become real, hard things in their lives, right? So that's not what we're talking about. And that's also, as much as we dwell on the negative, dwelling only in the positive is just as thin of an experience, right? But here's the thing. As we develop this habit of gratitude, right? This attitude of gratitude, as they say, right? What happens then is that we can see the benefit and the positive in even the negative experiences of our lives, right? And I know that might be a stretch for you, right? I know that might be hard to say, like, yeah, okay, I get that, Art. A lot of people right now are probably saying, okay, you just lost me on that one. And that's okay, right? And it's the kind of thing where I'm going to explain it to you, but you're only going to know it when you feel it. And you're only going to feel it by doing these practices, okay? So that said, what I mean here is, let me give you a perfect example, right? So I've had this bad back this whole week, right? Like the other day, I spend a lot of time over the computer and on the phone, doing work and stuff. It's not just, screwing off with, social media, but I'm actually, communicating with clients and stuff like that, and doing my mailings and stuff on the computer. So I spend a lot of time in this, kind of not great position, and my body let me know about it. Right now, it's been very uncomfortable. It's been hard to sleep. It's been hard to be happy. It's been, it's been a struggle this whole week, right? But what it's doing is it's telling me something, right? It's taught me this lesson, right? It's taught me about how to change my position and my posture as I'm doing this work, so that I don't have that anymore. It's taught me to pay more attention to stretching properly. It's taught me to take breaks from time to time and get into a more, appropriate posture, a more healthy posture. And most of all, what it's done now is I haven't been able to really work out and ride my bike and do the stuff that I would normally do. And you know what? I realized that my body needed the rest. So it made me rest for a few days, and that's okay. Right? Yeah, I miss my bike. I want to burn some calories because, we're sitting around and, the refrigerator calls my name every 5 minutes. But, but it's okay for a few days. It's okay. And it's been really very restful. And this morning I woke up, even though, I haven't been sleeping. Like last night was the first night that I was able to really sleep most of the night without waking up. Like, I'll roll over and it'll hit me the pain. I'll wake up with pain. That's really not a pleasant way to wake up, right? But again, it's teaching me. Right? So it's a very negative thing that's been going on, but I'm grateful for it. Right? I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, my life is terrible because I got this backache and I'll never be happy again until this is gone, right? That's not necessary. You don't have to live like that. Right? Your happiness comes from within you, and if you can look at even something that is uncomfortable and unpleasant, right? And instead of just taking fistfuls of Advil and just moving on with life, I haven't taken any pain medication. I've just been present with it, and I've allowed myself to experience it and to learn from it and to kind of honor it. Right? And as it gets better, and it's better today than it was yesterday, it was better yesterday than the day before, and as it gets better and better, I start to feel that I can notice that, right? And now it's like, it's a sunny day, right? But I can appreciate the cloudy day too. I hope that all that makes sense. And if it doesn't, if you have any questions about this, or if you want to figure out how to take it to these next levels, okay, or even if you want some coaching on how to get into doing these practices, right? The gratitude practice, the compassion practice, and the simply taking a moment of mindfulness in the morning and looking outside. And it doesn't even have to be with the clouds and the sun, because a lot of times in certain areas of the country right now or in the world, it's going to be pretty gray and wintry for the next 6 months or whatever, 4 months, so it doesn't even have to be that. It can also be just waking up and spending a few moments and just noticing, like, okay, I don't have a toothache, I don't have a cold, I don't have a backache, I don't have any of this stuff that's causing me pain, right? Or maybe I do have that. Right? Or maybe I wake up and how does my body feel? Maybe I feel really well rested this morning. It's awesome, like like it's a special kind of feeling sometimes, so noticing yourself too, that's a good way to do it as well. So if you'd like any help with any of these practices, and the thing is that one of the benefits of having a coach, right, is not only the accountability that a coach provides you, right? That is an enormous benefit to have somebody who, you're accountable for. So it's like every week, it's like, okay, did you do all that stuff that we talked about? And that accountability makes you want to do it, right? But even more than that, one of the greatest things that I do with my clients, and every week this happens with every one of my clients, almost everyone, it always seems that they're coming in and they're saying, this week wasn't a great week. I didn't do, I did the practice, but it didn't feel good. And I kind of, it was, whatever. It wasn't special. It wasn't, nothing big happened, but there was this one thing. And then this other thing and we have this conversation, and for like 20 minutes or so, I just let them tell me about everything that's been happening. And at the end of it, I tell them, well, I just heard you say this, and this is a really big thing. And by the end of the conversation, after like 20 more minutes, they're sitting there saying, wow, I thought this was like a really dull week. I thought I didn't get much done, but look at what I really killed it this week. Like I crushed it. That's awesome. And so the thing is that again, that's the negativity bias, right? We are more likely to see that we didn't do great. We're more likely to see that, I kind of let myself down. I didn't do the stuff. I didn't get to where I want to get to. But then when somebody who has an external, viewpoint and an unbiased viewpoint, right? And I'm not lying to them. I'm not saying like, oh, let's just be happy. I'm saying like, well, look at this. Did you notice this? And do you know how important that is based compared to what we talked about last week and that kind of thing? And what it is I'm putting the positive back to them. And once they notice, wow, it's amazing. Like, wow, I really do see that now. And that's the beautiful thing. So if you would like to get into that kind of experience, please hit me up with a comment, send me a message, get in touch with me. It's really, I'm I'm here to make a living, not a killing. I purposely make it attainable for people. It's not thousands and thousands of dollars. And it might be something that you want to try. Maybe you've never thought of it. Maybe you want to think about it. Maybe you have thought about it in the past. Either way, it's a free conversation if you want to talk for 15, 20 minutes and just explore the options and get an idea. And so if you resonate with any of the things that I say in these videos, it might be something, or this podcast, it might be something you want to check out for yourself. So if that is the case, please go to my website, artburnscoaching.com. You can book a free call with me there, or we can communicate via email or a messenger or FaceTime, Zoom call, whatever. But let's get into a conversation. You might be really pleasantly surprised. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I wish you well, and please, find some gratitude in your life. It's worth it. All right, everybody. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.